I know what I was doing. I was watching the Senate primary debate. Texas Democrats Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico squared off Saturday in their first debate ahead of the March 3rd. There's another election day, U.S. Senate primary. The hour-long discussion highlighted different styles, more than any kind of sharp disagreements on core issues. Crockett cast herself as a street fighter, while Tallarico emphasized his legislative record and approach to winning in a GOP-leaning state. Both candidates broadly about the economy, healthcare, and immigration policy, and position as opponents of President Trump and his administration's actions, including recent ICE interactions and altercations. The two Democrats are each seeking to flip the seat long held by incumbent Republican Senator John Cornyn. Cornyn himself is facing one of the toughest primaries of his long political career, battling against both Houston area Congressman Wesley Hunt and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Early voting for the Democratic primary for this race is set to begin February 17th.
Right now, we know when we look at our polling, when it comes to working class people, I am leading by 20 points. We know that I am leading when it comes to African-American men. We know that overall women are going to play a really big role in deciding who gets elected, and I am leading amongst women. So at the end of the day, when we look at the numbers are there.
I don't think you should believe anything a politician says. I think you should look at what a politician has done. The best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. And the people in this room know that I have fought tooth and nail for our values in the Texas House of Representatives. I have gone toe-to-toe with the billionaires who are trying to dismantle public education in this state.
I do want to clarify one thing in what Crockett was saying. In the pockets she's talking about, she is leading, but in current polling in total, she is not leading in it right now. Tallarico has pulled slightly ahead in polling for the Democratic primary. Just keep that in mind. What are your thoughts on the debate, and did you watch it? Give us a call, 713-440-8870.
You think Cornyn's going to come out on that on the Republican side?
I think Cornyn is gonna take it. I think, and Celeste and I were just talking about this earlier. Yeah. I think especially what's going on nationally right now with what's happening with ICE and the distaste with the extreme right and how they've been handling immigration, it's going to have a backward effect over onto Paxton, who has seemed to be more of the conservative, whereas Cornyn is a little more toward the center when it comes to it. And I think that's going to help him in the primary for his party. Wesley Hunt, I don't know what he's going to do to that mix, but if it was just Paxton and Cornyn, I think that's what you would see. So then it's going to be whoever the Democrats pick up against, I think, Cornyn.
Yeah.
That's my armchair.
And to the point we made earlier, you know, Cornyn will be 74 next Monday.
Yeah.
He's an older gentleman. He's been here a long time. And so he wants another 6-year term. If they can do his 80s, my God, why not?
Gosh.
Yeah. As opposed to Tallarico or Crockett, who are both clearly younger.
And to go back to the point that Celeste was making on our last story, talking about Edwards and Manafee, in the Democratic side, you've got good candidates.
Sure.
And so there's almost an embarrassment of riches. These are good candidates. Neither would you be embarrassed to have represent you, I believe. And so it's just who fits with you think. Now, earlier polling was suggesting that Crockett would win the primary, but couldn't do as well against in the full election against the Republican. But now polling is showing that that Tallarico has the edge in the Democratic primary and could come closer to beating the Republican. So it's fascinating to watch, but we know from what we've seen in polls of late, you just never know.
You gotta never know. Charlie Parker says on YouTube, Tallarico will represent us better and work for the people. That's his opinion.
That's his opinion. And you know the best way for your opinion to be heard? Vote. Get out there and vote. Vote in that primary, as we mentioned, will begin February 17th. And for Texas District 18, that's happening right now.
Coming up on Hello Houston, we'll talk with Jim Kovach, Harris County Civil Court at Law number 2 judge, about his re-election campaign. This is News 88.7. Stay with us.
I'm Jeremy Hobson. Next time on The Middle, the fatal shooting of another American citizen by federal authorities in Minneapolis. What does Alex Preddy's death mean for the future of immigration enforcement? Have the aggressive tactics being used by ICE under the Trump administration gone too far? And what does all of this mean for our democracy? Have your say on the middle.
You can hear that Thursday night at 8 p.m.
Hi, I'm Brandon Rottinghouse. And I'm Geronimo Cortina, host of Party Politics on Keystone Public Media. We're inviting you to News and Brews happening February 17th at St. Arnold Brewing Company. Let's have a thoughtful political conversation over great food and drinks. When you donate $60 to make your ticket to News and Brews, and you will also get a complimentary pint. Get your
Too hot.
Today at
Too hot today.
See you there.
As the federal government deploys thousands of ICE agents across the country, protesters are mobilizing to push back.
What the volunteers told me is they want
I'm gonna go
officers
Houston
out of their
Airport today.
neighborhoods.
Other strategies put activists in murky legal territory. Next time on Think.
What I do
You can
now,
listen to Fame
everyone.
coming up tonight at 10 o'clock. Support comes from Houston Rainbow representing Silent Night, a Pulitzer Prize-winning opera by composer Kevin Kutz, sung in English, French, and German, inspired by the Christmas truce of 1914. Now through February 8th at the Wortham. Tickets at hgo.org.
Please subscribe my channel and good brother.
Elie Wiesel, Holocaust survivor and Nobel Peace Prize-winning author of Night. Watch American Experience tonight at 8 on TV 8.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
All right, Jim Kovac served as judge of Harris County Civil Court at Law Number 2 since 2019, and he is running for re-election this year. He'll face Ebony Williams in the upcoming primary election. And to tell us more about his platform, we're joined this morning by Judge Jim Kovac. If you'd like to join the conversation, call or text us at 713-440-8870. Jim, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you for having me. Hello everyone.
Hello, Houston.
You know, we were just talking about Tallarico and Crockett being up for the same race. How do you feel, Jim, about your competition in this race?
Well, I'd like to talk about my qualifications is I think the way I'm going to go about my campaign. And I am a 34-year lawyer, practiced 34 years, judge now for going on 8 years. And I've handled cases in the county civil courts at law my entire career. I've handled over 10,000 cases, including 150 jury trials in the county civil court at Law Number 2. My opponent, when I search her bar number, I see that she's handled zero. She's never handled a case in the county civil courts at law. So I'm going to talk about my qualifications, much like Congressman Crockett and State Rep Tallarico, and talk about qualifications.
You know, Jim, and speaking of qualifications, take us back just a second. And when we look at civil courts, and talk to us about the type of cases that you specifically look at. Because I found it interesting that one of your slogans is, life may not be fair, but judges should be. So talk to us a little bit about the cases that you have seen already sitting in the position that you've been in.
Sure. So the county civil courts at law are a unique court that there were 4 of us all along until this last year. Now there's 5 county civil courts at law. We just made a 5th one and got that through. Austin created the 5th court. So there's only 5 of us. And unlike the district courts who have unlimited jurisdiction and can handle large cases with big verdicts, our court is limited in jurisdiction. It went on January 1, it went from $250,000 up to $25,000. So we handle the smaller lawsuits and we're a high volume court. So because we handle smaller cases, we have a high volume of cases, and we also move very quickly. And so it's something that you need to have experience in handling. We also handle all the appeals from Justice of the Peace Court. Justice of the Peace Court is where all eviction cases start. So there's 16 Justice of the Peace Courts throughout Harris County. There's 2 in each constable's district. So those 16 Justice of the Peace Courts, if you appeal from them on an eviction case, you'd come up to one of the now 5 county civil courts at law. So you can imagine how many eviction cases I handle in my court. We handle about 50 a week. And my slogan is life may not be fair, but your judge should be, is because the reason I ran for judge is I didn't think the prior judges were being fair to the litigants in the case. I actually saw a case in which a young black man was trying to explain to the judge what had happened. He had lost his job on an eviction case. Instead of hearing him, the judge nodded to the bailiff and had the bailiff, who of course is in a sheriff's uniform with gun and handcuffs, come and stand behind the young man and silenced his voice. And that's when I drove home that day and I told my husband, you know what? I'm tired of what I'm seeing in these courts. And my initial reaction was, I'm going to change and I'm going to go become a real estate broker, because I had a successful career in law. I owned an office building at Westcott and Memorial, right off Memorial Park. And I told him I'm going to become a real estate broker. And he said, no, you're not. You're the fairest person I know. You're going to go in there and fix the courts. And that's what made me run for judge in 2017, was at the urging of my husband, who said that he thought I could be fair and would make a good judge. And that's what I did.
To help us understand when you say a judge should be fair. And I bring that up, and it's rather nuanced, I guess, but there is law and statutes that should be followed. There's also personal experience and into the situation in front of you. How do you balance out the humanity element of it and legal element of it to find what you define as fair?
That's a great question. And the way I define applying the law equally amongst everybody and treating everyone with respect and dignity. I was just voted by the Houston Bar Association out of lawyers who practice in this very court. And in that poll, I was the #1 county civil court at law judge, with 83% of respondents rating me as excellent or very good in the categories, which I think is what makes a fair judge. The categories are how well I know the law, how well I follow the law, am I professional and courteous, and do I use an attorney's time wisely and the litigant's time wisely. So I think that's part of being fair, is knowing the law and applying it appropriately, but being fair. For instance, on an eviction case, I can maybe give people the extra weekend they ask for in order to move out. That is an equitable remedy that I can give them to be compassionate and empathetic to their situation in a particular case.
I want to follow up just a little bit on that also. Right now, we're seeing a lot of things, and this is more on the national level, but we're seeing things where the argument often is, but that's the law. We're following the law. And we as observers feel like it's not right. It may be legal, but it doesn't seem just and fair. As a judge, how much of that can you take in a case, and how much do you have to just sit? Yes, I can see adding a couple days before someone gets evicted and stuff like that, but how tightly do we have to follow the law, and how much do we have to do what may be perceived as just fair right?
So, a case depends on whether or not it's a bench trial or a jury trial. And I have less flexibility on a jury trial, because at the end of the day, it's the jury who's going to decide the case. So my job there is to simply be smell right to me. I have a lot more leeway to find in favor of the party who I think, even though it appears the law favors one side, if the facts and the nuances of the case lead me another way, then I can use my discretion in that accord.
So we all, I think, know the laundry list of criminal courts and what kind of cases they have. Other than evictions, what are the, say, top 3 or 4 cases that you handle?
So we can handle any case up to $325,000. So in Houston and Harris County, we know we like to drive our cars. So you can imagine how many car accident cases I have. That's another big issue in my court, our automobile motor vehicle accidents. Then I also handle a lot of debt collection cases where either a credit union